cold and the disgustingness of the water.
Dealing with the aftermath of record rainfall that drenched the city and damaged homes.
Yesterday was a very, very challenging day for the people that live in our city.
Tonight, the hard lessons soaking in after the flood. Good evening. It was a major weather event, a month's worth of rain in just a matter of hours.
The torrential downpour left drivers stranded with transit washed out. And today, the city answered questions about whether all that chaos could have been prevented. CTV's Rahim Ladani joins us live with tonight's top story. Rahim.
Michelle and Nathan, good evening. And speaking with Toronto City Manager and Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow, they both said that the amount of rainfall that fell yesterday did exceed the city's expectations. They said they were prepared, that they had plans in place, but that the amount of rainfall, they just weren't expecting that much. You know, in speaking with them, they both shared a feeling that they're very confident that when it comes to protecting future developments, the city is making the right investments to do just that. But when you talk about the current infrastructure and the aging infrastructure at that here in the city of Toronto, such as Union Station and the Don Valley Parkway, they say there's only so much they can do to protect those from future weather events. The commute on the Don Valley Parkway is much more shallow compared to 36 hours ago, when entire sections were drowned by water. Drivers stuck for hours, including a dozen who needed to be rescued by fire crews. Now the city is being pressed on why it didn't shut down the highway sooner.
I don't want people to feel that we were unprepared. We were. However, the situation changed pretty significantly. And when that shifted, we needed to pivot.
Parts of the lakeshore were submerged for hours, and countless cars needed to be towed. While at Union Station, even the $800 million recently spent on renovations was not enough to withstand staircases turning into waterfalls.
Union Station's built on fill. The Don Valley Parkway is built in a river valley that was built, several decades ago. So we're seeing this mix of extreme weather, climate, and our infrastructure not really playing well together.
The city says most of the current roadways and buildings are not built to the proper standards, anticipating these types of weather events becoming more frequent due to climate change. However, Mayor Olivia Chow says now that the city has freed up $2 billion after uploading the cost of the DVP and Gardner to the province, they'll be able to make improvements.
We can now distribute among all the older infrastructure, and we'll repair and renew our infrastructure.
Another question being asked by Torontonians is if the $1.25 billion Portland's flood protection project would have helped. It's expected to be complete by the end of the year. But Waterfront Toronto says the Portland's flood protection project is being undertaken to protect the Portlands and portions of Leslieville and South Riverdale during significant weather events more significant than the one experienced yesterday. It is not designed to mitigate flooding on the Don Valley Parkway, which remains within the Don River floodplain. Toronto City Manager maintains it is a good investment and just one piece of work being undertaken to better protect residents.
Our capital program for the next 10 years is the largest in Toronto's history at $50 billion. And within that are the very things that I talked about, search for them. All of these projects that are about basement flooding, those are the pieces that will address some of what happened yesterday.
Vowing the city will learn and adapt the next time Mother Nature roars through. Now, water treatment facilities, of course, were overwhelmed yesterday, and we've also learned that the equivalent of 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of wastewater were bypassed yesterday. What that means is that they were treated once before being released into the waterways, as opposed to the usual 2 times. The city says this does not have any effect on drinking water here in the city in any way, shape, or form. However, they are advising people not to go swimming, even in designated beach areas, for the next 48 hours. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladani. Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back to you both.
Good to know. Thank you, Rahim. And the city says crews worked overnight to reopen roads and bridges, culverts and guardrails inspected for safety.
It was a big job, but for many homeowners in our city, there's a lot of work left to do. The record rain caused sewer water to back into basements of homes. And for some, this wasn't the first time. CTV's Beth McDonnell is in a West End neighborhood where the cleanup is significant and will continue for days. Beth.
Nathan, this is Rock Cliff near Weston and Black Creek. It is one of the hardest hit areas when it comes to basement flooding. The Insurance Bureau of Canada says it will take weeks to assess all the claims, but the damage from all this rain could result in more than $1 billion in losses from these claims.
Because last time I had 4.5 feet of water in my basement. This time I have I don't know, like a foot of water in the basement.
Wading through the water, Eric Swanson has been on a relentless cleanup. This was just hours after the rain.
So the water was up to here on the outside.
Drained now, there is damage despite being a proactive homeowner. He has a specialized pressure sealing door and powered backwater valve. Still not enough to stop sewage from coming in his basement.
Like, do we call insurance? Do we not call insurance? But the mold and the disgustingness of the water and all those issues, you know, you're like, well, I need to get this properly cleaned and taken care of so that my house is still livable.
Swanson's Rock Cliff neighborhood is tight-knit. When streets flooded, people banded together, helping those with the most water. People like Rui Anastasio and his partner rushing in to help neighbor Karma Kunsang while water surrounded the furniture.
And then I hear this poor guy saying, it's like, I got a foot of water in the basement. I'm like, as soon as I'm done pumping here, we're gonna go and jump into yours. By the time we got here though, he was knee-high water. Yeah, so we got like 3-4 pumps going.
The sheer amount of water here lifting and toppling over his fridge and destroying everything else in its path.
I was literally shocked, disbelief. It was like in a movie. Like you see these things like some other place and then you say, oh, flood, this and that. But when this happened to your own house, you're like, your brain stops working.
The local councillor says work to fix the underlying infrastructure problem identified after a 2013 flood has started, and there is a program for a $7,500 rebate. While the cleanup across the city is well underway, the full cost to homeowners has yet to be tabulated.
A typical homeowner's insurance policy doesn't cover damage caused by sewer backup or flood. It only covers, water caused by a burst pipe or something like that in your home.
It's all frustrating for people like Swanson and Kunsang, struggling with impending mold and damage. The city says crews are available 24/7 for those dealing with basement flooding. Homeowners can call 311. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Flooding remains a concern in Burlington, where some residents are still out of their homes because of high water levels. Here's a bird's-eye view of the city's Cavendish Drive neighborhood, as that city's mayor promises to find ways to lessen the impact of future extreme weather.
We don't yet have the answers that is most on people's minds around what caused this for sure and how do we make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the one question we will endeavor to answer, and our staff are out in the field collecting that information. We don't know today what that answer is, but once we have that, you can guarantee that we will take the action necessary to rectify this.
Officials are placing at least part of the blame on a blocked inlet and a failed berm on Highway 407 property.
In Mississauga, emergency crews had to rescue residents of a senior's home that was hit by flooding. This was the scene at Tyndall Estates near Tompkin and Eglinton yesterday. A dinghy had to be used to move dozens of residents away from the high water surrounding that long-term care home. More than 100 residents were relocated.
Of course, yesterday's intense rainfall also prompted all sorts of rescue efforts across the city.
Emergency crews were called upon to free people from tough spots while ensuring nobody was left behind. Toronto Fire Services shared images of just a fraction of the scenes they encountered across the city. They say their communications staff processed nearly 1,700 calls for service and were dispatched to almost 500 incidents between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. Tuesday, including more than 50 elevator rescue calls, 50 water calls, and more than 20 people were rescued from cars and buildings as a result of all the rain.
And a man stranded over flooding waters was saved last night with help from the Canadian Armed Forces. A search and rescue helicopter was brought to Etobicoke Creek. Toronto Fire and police responded around 5:30 p.m. for reports of a person on a small island stranded by floodwater.
It was a great job by the Army coming in with their helicopter. They brought their rescuer down, made contact with the person stranded, and brought him up and brought him over to Peel EMS to be assessed.
Emergency crews say the helicopter was brought in from Trenton for the rescue.
And Hydro One shared this image of a flooded power transfer station in Etobicoke. The utility provider says the challenges at that site are to blame for ongoing power outages throughout parts of the West End, even as crews work around the clock to restore service to thousands of customers.
Fortunately today, weather-wise, we've been spared. Here's a live look from our CTV News chopper tonight. Relatively dry conditions as the city cleanup continues. Not fully in the clear just yet, but we are in for a nice dry stretch in the back half of the week. That's something to look forward to. Hey, Jess.
Hey, it's been kind of a few days of rain, right? We saw the remnants of Beryl. We saw a bout of rain on Sunday, a bout of rain on Monday, and then obviously that downpour yesterday. So that's a lot for storm drains, for the ground. The ground was so saturated yesterday. Today we begin kind of that drying process, and we're stepping into, as Nathan mentioned, a really nice stretch of days, to be honest, over the next 5 to 7 days. Temperature-wise, we're still kind of in the mid-20s, feeling a little warmer than that, but overall it's not too bad. Right now through the islands, through Pearson in that mid-20 range. Tonight, pretty spot on for seasonal. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. Right now, it's over to Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. Also tonight, the call to sell alcohol. Both sides are back at the bargaining table amid the LCBO strike. The latest on the liquor dispute coming up.
Could the end of the line be on the way for Toronto's aging subway fleet?
Today came a promise for funding that could help calm the commute for people who rely on the TTC. CTV's Natalie Johnson joins us live with those details tonight. Natalie.
Hi, Michelle. Well, for years, the TTC has been sounding the alarm over the fact that the Line 2 streetcars are approaching the end of their useful lifespan. That happens in 2026. But the city has been short hundreds of millions of dollars to order new ones. Now, however, the paperwork has been filed. The official ask for federal funding is in. Climb aboard a Line 2 subway car, and you could be in for a rattly ride.
There's always problems. Like everything else, they're getting old.
They're louder as well, and they're not as smooth.
The 55 trains that run on this route have been chugging along for decades. And Mayor Olivia Chow has been making her case to Ottawa for $750 million to replace them, since both the city and the province have already pledged to each cover a third of the cost.
Would this have not been taken down to this point?
Today, the Prime Minister was in town touting the launch of a new Canada-wide transit fund, $3 billion annually for 10 years, allowing cities to apply for federal funds for their transit priorities.
Permanent transit funding that's going to make it easier to have those longer-term plans.
Permanent and predictable.
The chance Chow has been waiting for when it comes to her new subway car wish list. The trains that run along this line have been in service for nearly 30 years, and the TTC has warned that if they are not replaced, service will suffer, with mechanical issues increasingly creating delays for riders. The Prime Minister, taking questions from TTC employees, today was asked, does this mean Toronto is getting its new subway trains?
New train anytime soon. We recognize that the rolling stock it has been expertly maintained for many, many, many years, and there is always a need to make sure that we're increasing capacity, increasing the ability of trains to respond to growing needs. But it's not the federal government that decides what municipalities and provinces are going to be spending on.
The mayor, though, clear that this is the cash to replace the failing fleet.
TTC is putting in an application. Let me see. Right now.
Gotta keep them happy, right?
The paperwork now filed. The mayor hoping this is the light at the end of the tunnel. The mayor is saying today they are hoping to hear back from Ottawa on this as soon as possible, ideally in time for the TTC board to sign off on it in September, so that if it is approved, they can get those new subway trains on order as soon as possible. Reporting live at the Greenwood TTC yard, I'm Natalie Johnson. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Toronto paramedics transported 2 people to hospital after a crash in Scarborough this afternoon. Emergency crews responded to the intersection of Danforth Road and Linden Avenue near Midland at around 2:20 p.m. At least 2 damaged vehicles were visible at the scene. A man in his 90s suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Another adult was slightly hurt.
Meanwhile, Toronto police say they've taken a suspect into custody after a stabbing in North York. Investigators say a man was found with injuries near Allen Road in Lawrence at around 12:40 this afternoon. It's not clear where the incident took place, but police say they arrested a second man nearby.
York Regional Police are investigating a shots fired incident in East Gwillimbury. They shared this video from early Saturday morning near Cypress Glen and Charlotte Abbey Drive. It shows suspects firing multiple rounds at a home from a gray or blue Range Rover SUV. Nobody was hurt, but police are asking anyone with information or related footage to get in touch.
And a man injured in a shooting in Brampton this morning is now expected to survive. Just before 9:30, Peel police say they were called to Inder Heights Drive near Mayfield and Kennedy Road. The victim was rushed to hospital in life-threatening condition, but his status has since stabilized. An adult male was seen fleeing in a vehicle.
This comes as Peel Regional Police announced they've carried out the largest ever seizure of illegal firearms in the service's history. 71 guns were seized as part of Project Chrome, an investigation into illegal international guns and drug trafficking. 10 suspects stand accused of bringing firearms across the border from the U.S. and distributing them across the GTA.
Each one of these firearms that you see before you represents a victim, other firearms offenses, other crimes, and countless harm to our community that we just cannot quantify or qualify.
The suspects face a combined 185 criminal code offenses. $1 million worth of drugs and quantities of ammunition were also recovered.
We turn to the latest in the labor dispute that's closed LCBO stores across the province.
Today, the union representing thousands of striking LCBO workers was back at the bargaining table. CTV's Sean Lathong reports.
A single truck finally gets moving at this LCBO licensee facility in Mississauga. As picketers delay orders going out, they're hopeful that a return to the bargaining table will speed things up.
We're not here for, a thorn in the side of Ontario summer. We're trying to want to get back to work. Most people out here want to get back to work. They have to.
As trucks wait hours to get inside and make deliveries with drivers resting from the sun, picketing workers both here and at the LCBO headquarters say compromises have to be made.
We're very positive that they're going back to the table today. It should have been done a lot sooner than this. Hopefully we can get a deal put together, but both sides have to be willing to work on the deal.
To our valued LCBO customers.
Recently, the LCBO released this commercial featuring the voice of LCBO CEO George Soleas accusing the union of forcing this strike.
The strike did not need to happen. We have come to the table with many employee-focused offers.
This as some stores' shelves have started looking bare and some bars are having a hard time holding onto stock. A new Leger poll finds that 32% of customers have sought alternative locations to purchase alcohol. 49% support the union's goals, including wage increases and more permanent positions, and only 29% think that the government of Ontario should intervene in this strike as soon as possible.
I always say they tell me their stories, hits you in the heart, and I just want them back to work. And they want to get back to work, every one of them I speak to.
For now, the work is focused on getting a deal. While talks have been ongoing here at the Sheridan Centre, a representative from OPSU says it has been a full day of bargaining and they do plan on continuing talks well into the evening. Just no word on any updates or a resolution. Sean Lathong, CTV News.
Concerns about the U.S. presidential election and the possibility of a Trump win took center stage on the last day of the Premier's Conference in Halifax.
It prompted a call among the leaders for Canada to increase defense spending sooner. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
The 13 premiers are all united in their calls for Canada to meet its 2% GDP NATO defense spending target as soon as possible as a way to safeguard the country's economic interests.
I think it's broader for Canada in its relationship with the United States. We're significant trading partners. And we want them to respect us.
Bonjour tout le monde. At last week's NATO summit, after mounting pressure from allies, the Prime Minister announced a 2032 date for reaching that obligation, too far away for premiers who want the date shortened from 8 years to 4.
I think the timeline we have to think about is the next administration, whoever that may be, in the United States of America. So Let's hit that target in the next 4 years with a credible plan to do so.
The premiers have been watching Donald Trump's presidential race and his surge in momentum. They're concerned about a déjà vu. When Trump was first elected in 2016, he put in place an America First policy and slapped tariffs on Canadian exports, threatening the economy of each province.
We do $500 billion of trade. Ontario alone with the U.S. would be their third largest trading partner.
Earlier this year, Trump reiterated his position that the U.S. would not defend any allies that didn't meet the NATO obligation. Currently, Canada's annual defense budget is around $30 billion. Getting to 2% could require $15 billion more a year.
In a what is a very unrestful world, we're seeing conflicts in Eastern Europe and in other areas of the world that I think that the investment is necessary.
The premiers say, regardless of who gets elected, Donald Trump or Joe Biden, Canada should meet its NATO targets. Back here in Canada, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is not committing to meeting the NATO target should he become the next prime minister. Judy Trin, CTV News, Halifax.
Donald Trump's running mate will formally accept his nomination tonight and introduce himself to a national audience when he delivers a speech at the Republican National Convention. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin reports.
President Donald J. Trump. As Donald Trump took another victory lap, with him the other man at the top of the ticket, Senator J.D. Vance, the political heir apparent to the MAGA movement. Tonight, Americans will get to know him and his story better. The best-selling author, rising from poverty, his family struggled with addiction, and sometimes called Trump's attack dog. Democrats call him a right-wing clone who embraces Trump's controversial America First policies.
J.D. Vance. Trump looked for someone he knew would be a rubber stamp for his extreme agenda, and make no mistake, J.D. Vance will be loyal only to Trump, not to our country.
Like mass deportations and cutting off funding to Ukraine.
We don't want to micromanage a foreign conflict thousands of miles away. That's not our job.
But for the party, it believes Vance can appeal to the working class voter.
This is about winning elections on down the line in 28 and beyond.
After years of infighting, Trump's political rivals have all fallen in line, even Nikki Haley, who held off endorsing Trump for months.
He is unhinged. He is more diminished.
Now back on the Trump train.
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
Republicans coming together, getting behind the man and the message, the mood more confident than ever.
He's taken a lot of, I hate to say this, bullets for us. And one almost hit him. But that just makes this place more resolved.
4 days after 20-year-old Thomas Crooks tried to kill the former president, scaling a rooftop and firing an assault rifle, they still have no motive. Homeland Security has launched an investigation into how Secret Service handled Trump's protection. Officials say security had been beefed up because of an alarming Iranian plot reportedly targeting the former president, who had ordered the assassination of a top Iranian general.
This is also why we are doing an internal review, and we look forward to the external review as well. And obviously, if there are things that we need to change about our policies or our procedures or our methods, we are certainly going to do so.
The Secret Service director and the FBI will give a private briefing to lawmakers on Capitol Hill. And Donald Trump says he will attend the private funeral of the hero firefighter who died protecting his family the day that Trump was shot. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Milwaukee.
And CTV News chief political correspondent Vashi Kapelos is also in Milwaukee. She joined us now ahead of tonight's highly anticipated headliner, Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance. Vashi, bless you.
Sorry, thank you.
Sometimes we got to do it, and it turns out it's on live TV. Yeah. First, what is your impression of J.D. Vance so far at the convention, and really what's top of mind for you ahead of the speech?
Well, a couple of things are top of mind. He's definitely made a big splash. I spent the past few hours talking, Michelle, to as many delegates as I could. Like, what are you expecting tonight? They really want to hear about his support for Trump and his support for the kinds of policies and ideas that Trump has put forward, basically the MAGA world. But the stakes for him go well beyond the MAGA world tonight. They're all here. They already pretty much support him. He's going to be speaking to a much broader audience, including many of the swing voters in those 6 swing states that are so key key to whomever ends up winning this election. And so I'll be watching to see what kind of tone does he strike. Does he blame Joe Biden like he did this weekend for the shooting that took place, the attempted assassination, or does he try to strike a more quote-unquote unifying tone that Donald Trump is said to be trying to strike with his speech tomorrow?
Meantime, you've been talking to Canadian officials in attendance there. Why do they think it's important to be there right now? And what is the message they're sharing with Republicans?
Yeah, Michelle, there's a whole bunch of them, including Ontario's representative to Washington, to the United States, David Patterson, Alberta's James Rajat, and then Canada's overall ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman. They're here talking to as many Republicans as possible because I think a lot of people in the federal government believe it looks a whole lot more probable that Donald Trump could win come November, and they're trying to make as many inroads as they can and make Canada's case. Because remember, Donald Trump is promising a 10% tariff to be applied to all imports coming in. I actually just ran after his son, Eric Trump, to try and see if Canada would get an exemption to that. I asked him point blank, could Canada be exempted? He walked away without answering. So a lot on the table for Canada in the months to come, particularly if Trump is successful in November. Michelle?
CTV's Vashi Capellas live for us at the RNC in Milwaukee. Thank you.
In the UK, the new Labour government outlined its agenda during the opening of a new session of Parliament.
My ministers will get Britain building, including through planning reform, as they seek to accelerate the delivery of high-quality infrastructure and housing. They will also pursue sustainable growth by encouraging investment in industry, skills, and new technologies.
As is tradition, the King delivered a speech written by the government. It included 40 bills ranging from nationalizing railways to decarbonizing the power supply. There was also a promise to ease the cost of living.
The U.S. has agreed to ease some of the rules for Canadians taking their dogs across the border. The federal government says revisions are being made after a series of meetings with officials in Washington.
There are a couple of important changes that we have been able to extract, but they're not enough.
The U.S. regulations require dogs heading stateside after August 1st to be at least 6 months old, vaccinated, and have a universally readable microchip. Their owners will have to fill out a U.S. Centers for Disease Control form and have a veterinarian sign an export document. Ottawa says it was able to secure a grace period when owners will be given a warning for the first couple of months, and the CDC will not require authorization form from a veterinarian with the Canada Food Inspection Agency. The new rules are intended to help control the spread of rabies, but officials say there is no dog-maintained rabies virus in Canada.
The mayor of Paris went for a dip in the River Seine today. Anne Hidalgo had promised to show the waterway was clean enough to host swimming events during the Olympics, which is just 9 days away. While in the water, she said the Seine is exquisite. Swimming in the river has been banned for over a century. Over $500 million has been spent since 2015 to prepare the Seine for the Games and to ensure Parisians have a cleaner river after the Olympics.
Coming up on CTV News, it's not just a party trick. Meet the GTA kids who've taken juggling to the next level, proving their skills on the international stage.
Getting all the numbers in, we saw about 25 millimeters Monday, 97 towards Pearson yesterday for a grand total of about 122, give or take, millimeters. It was a significant rain event that we are still cleaning up from. The good news is, as we head into the next couple of days, we settle into some sunshine. High pressure holds firm, a much more stable air mass, making it beautiful to wrap things up and help clean things up. Coming up, I'll have a look at your full long-range forecast, and stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
We got breaking news from Las Vegas. U.S. President Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19. He's experiencing mild symptoms. Doctors say Biden presented this afternoon with upper respiratory symptoms, including a runny nose and a cough. He's returning to Delaware, where he will self-isolate and continue carrying out his duties. Now, Biden has been vaccinated and boosted and says he feels good.
Back here at home as the city recovers from the impacts of yesterday's intense rainfall. The impacts were certainly evident along the waterfront today.
With water flooding several areas and inundating the sewer system, the storm has also had an impact on water quality readings in Lake Ontario. As a result, if you were hoping to take a dip in the lake today to cool off, health officials said that was definitely a bad idea. It's considered unsafe to swim at all of Toronto's public beaches, even where beaches aren't themselves flooded. Water quality readings taken by the city this morning show E. coli levels already exceeding safe levels. Good to know, although I've never swam in that lake.
Well,
so.
you know what? The quality is good when it's, it can definitely be good. But you heard Raheem earlier talking about how the treatment plants were struggling to keep up. So not a time to swim, although nice conditions today, considering all the rain we got yesterday.
Yeah, we certainly got as much as you could take in one day, Jess.
We set some records. There was a lot of rain, and it's one of those things where it stirs up all the sediment at the bottom. Obviously, we had all of that flooding, and you saw all of the remnants of that yesterday when the water and eventually drained on some of the roads, and today when you saw it kind of floating in the air because everything's dried up now. But the good news is, as we head into the next few days, we're seeing a significant change. We'll take a look back, though, at Evergreen Brickworks of what it looked like, and what it looks like now, and you can see that leftover guck, the yucky stuff out there on the roads. That is what it looked like yesterday. So everything underneath that, all that dirt, all that had to be cleaned up. And that was the same story on the DVP, on the lakeshore, on a lot of those roads that ended up under water. As we step into the next few days and we continue to clean up, we are dry. So it will kind of help to speed up and expedite that process. Temperature-wise right now, it's pretty muggy out there. We're sitting at 26. It feels like 30, but that northwesterly wind helping to have it not feel so humid like it did yesterday, right after all that rain made its way through. We're at 27 through Windsor, 20 in Ottawa, a little cooler there, and anywhere north of Parry Sound, kind of in that mid to upper teen range. Tonight, a little below seasonal, but we're holding on where we should be really for this time of year. And thanks to, again, a more northerly or northwesterly flow to the winds, it's comfortable for sleeping. A few communities a little below the seasonal mark, but not by any significant amount. Into the day tomorrow, spot on for seasonal. We'll feel around 32, but it's a beautiful day. The slight chance of showers really comes in just because we're seeing humidity build up. We're looking at that cold front pushing its way out. This trough, the blue dotted line there, as it sinks down, is kind of an extension off of that main low. That brings the slight chance of passing showers right around southern Ontario, but it is a sprinkle at best. As we head in towards the rest of our evening, nice and clear, beautiful to get outside and enjoy the weather. I know a lot of people probably have sports in the evening, playing outside for football, soccer, all those things. Pickleball, whatever sparks your fancy. It is a beautiful night to get out and get active. Into the day tomorrow, we have a few light clouds, but overall it is dry, it is sunny, and we're holding on to this high pressure for the next few days as two areas of it really settle in as we step in towards the end of the week and kick off the weekend. We are a little below seasonal as we head throughout the day today and tomorrow, but you factor in that humidex and we kind of bounce back up to where we should be for this time of year. As we head in towards Saturday, we get up to 28. That'll feel into the low 30s. So if you have outdoor plans, I know a lot of folks are enjoying the numerous festivals. We have the Honda Indy going on as well. There's a lot happening. There's never not something going on in the city. A beautiful forecast as we head throughout our Saturday and Sunday. The chance of showers on Sunday is really slight. We just have the right conditions. That's why that 30% is there. As we head in towards the beginning of next week, we really do settle into a really nice stretch. It's only as we get into Wednesday next week that we watch for the potential of a few more showers. We'll keep a close eye on that because the ground is still super saturated from the rain that we had yesterday. Nathan, I'll send things back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Also tonight, some of the nominees for this year's Emmy Awards have been released. A look at the big-name contenders topping the list coming up.
Health officials call it an epidemic. Last year, Toronto saw 523 deadly opioid overdoses.
Toronto's drug checking service is part of a harm reduction strategy to address the problem. And today, CTV health reporter Pauline Chan got an inside look at their lab.
Within the busy lab that processes all the samples at St. Michael's Hospital is Toronto's drug checking service.
We provide an essential public health service to individuals in the community, allowing them to submit a small amount of their drug to be checked and to understand what's in it, and then they receive results along with tailored strategies to reduce harm.
They also provide a big picture to health and government officials of the current state of the unregulated drug market. And these days, the focus is on fentanyl, or what's masquerading as fentanyl.
When it comes to other drug types, we are seeing that those have remained quite stable, like cocaine, methamphetamine, that type of thing. But with fentanyl in particular, what we're seeing is that it almost never meets service users' expectations. So generally speaking, there are many other drugs that are being cut into the fentanyl that increase the risk of overdose.
Toronto's drug checking service began in 2019, and since then it's checked more than 13,000 samples.
Last year, additional funding allowed the lab to begin testing samples from almost twice as many collection sites, 11 up from 6 harm reduction centers. They can test drug equipment, such as cookers or foils, as well as the drugs themselves. The sophisticated process usually takes about 24 hours, but some less accurate machines can do basic assessments in minutes. Many of the contaminants are high-potency opioids, but Karen McDonald is concerned about the newer additions that affect the central nervous system.
Things like benzodiazepine-related drugs, veterinary tranquilizers such as xylazine and medetomidine, which you may have heard about.
And even fentanyl use itself is declining.
And what's worrisome about that is that fluorofentanyl is stronger than fentanyl. It's considered to be up to 2 times stronger.
Making it even more important to keep a close eye on the unregulated drug market in Ontario. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The Emmy nominations have been revealed, honoring this year's Best in Television. Historical drama Shogun has the most nods with 25, but The Bear is not far behind.
Doors! Refire! It's not perfect, it doesn't go out.
FX series about a struggling chef and his kitchen crew scored 23 nominations, which is a record for comedies. Well, although it's worth noting, some have questioned why it was submitted in the comedy category. The Bear got 13 nominations last year. As for Shogun, it's competing for Best Drama in its first season. It's up against Fallout and the final installment of The Crown. The awards will be handed out September 15th.
And there were a few other milestones set with today's nominations. Kaylee Reese and Lily Gladstone made Emmys history as the first 2 Indigenous women nominated in acting categories. Reese is in the running for Best Supporting Actress in a Limited Series for her role in HBO's True Detective Night Country, while Gladstone is up for her role in the Hulu's Under the Bridge.
And some big achievements for Selena Gomez in the Emmy noms as well. She received her first acting nomination for her role in Only Murders in the Building. What's more, she made history for her work as an executive producer for the series. Her 3rd consecutive nomination for Outstanding Comedy Series makes her the most nominated Latina producer in Emmy's history. After the break, preparing for the Roar on the Lakeshore. Crews begin laying down the track for this weekend's Honda Indy. The race to the finish line coming up.
We must take action to build the resiliency of our city.
Updating our top stories, clearing away the water and assessing the damage. One day after record rainfall soaked the GTA, the city says Toronto's infrastructure needs improvement to better weather future storms. This comes as experts predict similar events will become more frequent due to climate change.
The mold and the disgustingness of the water and all those issues, you're like, well, I need to get this properly cleaned and taken care of.
Meanwhile, many residents are still dealing with water in their basements or the aftermath of the mess and all the potential headaches it brought with it. The full extent of the damage has not been assessed. Insurance experts say it's a good time for homeowners to see whether they have overland flood coverage.
We're not here for a thorn in the side of Ontario summer. We're trying to get back to work.
And striking LCBO workers say talks continue this evening with the Crown Corporation after a full day of bargaining. OPSU agreed to the renewed discussions today as members remain on the picket lines, pushing for improved wages and job protections. The LCBO has said the strike did not need to happen. Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and you can always download the CTV News app.
Giant tech stocks took another hit today. Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg gives us the latest in business.
Hello there. Concerns that U.S.-China tensions will hurt growth in the semiconductor industry helped to fuel another sell-off in big U.S. tech names. NVIDIA fell 7%. Meta Platforms dropped 6%, and advanced micro devices slumped 10%. America is trying to hamstring China's technology sector, so Washington has told allies that it's considering using severe trade restrictions if non-US companies such as Tokyo Electron and ASML continue giving Beijing access to advanced semiconductor technology. The tech-stuffed NASDAQ 100 index is now down 4% from last Wednesday's record high close. The Canadian dollar changed hands at 73.06 US cents, down a fraction. WTI oil, the North American benchmark, was at $82.85, up $2.09. Western Canadian Select traded at $65.48, down $1.62. And the TSX Composite ended at 22,851.17, down just over 144 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
There's an important new feature for transit riders who pay fares with their phone. That's been possible for some time now if you paid with a stored credit or debit card. But now Metrolinx has updated its system to allow you to add your Presto card directly to your Apple Wallet. You can convert your existing card or sign up for a new one to keep your card active.
Start your engines. The annual Honda Indy is set to speed through the city this weekend. Preparations for the big event already underway. Crews were setting up the track this morning at Exhibition Place and along a stretch of Lakeshore. Nice and dry there now. The main race gets underway on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. However, there is a lot to take in on Friday and Saturday as well. This is an exciting time for racing fans and for drivers.
This weekend is everything for us. Most of our racing is actually done in the United States. So having a race on home soil, I mean, I was born right downtown. It's huge. So all the family, the friends, the supporters, they're going to be there. And yeah, super lucky to be a part of the USF Pro Championships. That's what our ladder of series is called. And yeah, this weekend is big for us, looking to move up in the point standings and have a good finish at home in front of the home crowd.
Best of luck to you. There will be significant road closures in the downtown core for the race. Those closures start today. Strawn will be closed from Fleet to Lakeshore, and Lakeshore will be closed from Strawn to British Columbia Drive. The roads will remain shut down until Sunday at 11 p.m.
Just ahead, when keeping your eye on the ball becomes more than just a hobby. Meet the talented young jugglers who've just returned from international competition with silver medals.
Tonight, a promised plunge. The mayor of Paris fulfills her vow of swimming in the newly cleaned up sand just days before the Olympics.
It's amazing. You know, it was a dream for us.
Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
When it comes to juggling many things at once, you could say these kids are pros.
Their ability to not drop the ball has garnered international attention. CTV's Andrea Case explains.
Kids have a lot to juggle these days, but for this quartet, I mean it literally. Students at the Smile Group Performing Arts Theater for Teens and Kids in Newmarket spent a lot of time perfecting their craft as jugglers. It's not as easy as it looks, but these kids are patient and good teachers. Their hard work recently paid off. Their team won the silver medal at the 77th International Juggling Association competition in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The visual art theater kids competed against adults from around the world, including Germany, Japan, Spain, and the U.S.
Amazing. It was fun representing Canada in that tournament. It was just awesome, and we are just thrilled to get the second place medal. I'm so happy. It's just amazing.
It was a very tough competition. There's a lot of people competing, but we managed to get to the top.
They are part of approximately 40 kids who take lessons in the visual arts, including juggling and bubble making, and they practice for hours. Sasha Sine is the producer and theater owner.
We are making life happy. We were now in Boston Festival in June, and all the audience, they came to us and they told us in such a difficult times, you made our day perfect. You make our life happy.
I keep coming back because number one, it's really entertaining, and two, like I like the fact that you have to actually like try to get something and keep practicing instead of just like doing nothing and like or going somewhere and doing something. Just like it's like practicing, keep going, and it's a really good feeling when you finally achieve something.
What is the hardest thing about juggling?
Learning to juggle.
And what's the easiest thing about juggling?
Juggling.
One would think with juggling, you keep your eye on the ball, but I've learned you keep your eye up above, and the ball will come to you. That's only one ball. I'm not quitting my day job anytime soon. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Got to work on our juggling.
See, Nathan can juggle. We tried to find something behind the scenes that would show us, but you know what? We'll leave the juggling to the kids.
They are so good at taking an apple, like having a snack at the same time. That's a multitasking to a whole nother level. We are focusing on the forecast now, and as we head into the next couple of days, we are holding on to high pressure. Thankfully, after all of that rain, a cumulative 122-ish millimeters towards Pearson and about 121 through the downtown core. It was a lot. We are holding on to temperatures again at or just shy of seasonal as we head into the next few days, but you factor in that humidex and it kind of puts you really into that sweet spot. The good news is as we step in towards the end of the week and the weekend, some sunshine to dry things up, brighten things up, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to it. I can focus on maybe learning how to juggle.
I want to see you juggling by next week, Jess. That's it for us, but be sure to join Morella Fernandez tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast. That's at 11:30.
In the meantime, coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica, the Juggler Smith, and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching. Have a great night. We only have one of those.